Hey everyone, the day has arrived. Finally, the challenge is going to start today. Um, yes, the technology is another different ball game, so just bear with me here. But anyways, by now you probably know my name is Vivian, and I'm so excited that you decided to join me on this 5-day diabetes challenge to deal diabetes a fatal blow. Now, I will be your coach, and if you don't know me by now, my passion is to help women reverse diabetes, lose weight, revitalize their health, and get into the absolute best shape of their life in record time. So, I am the founder of our flagship program, My Uber Diet. I'm an author, nutritionist, wellness expert, mom, wife, and you probably don't also need my dental records. So you joined this 5-day diabetes challenge to drop your A1C levels, and you are watching it in front of your computer, your iPhone, or on your iPad with me right now. And this is the start of your journey to reverse your type 2 diabetes with me. I'm so thrilled for you. So, Vivian, why did you end up helping people with diabetes? So, I've been helping people live healthier lives as a nutritionist, keto coach for the past 9 years. But it wasn't until diabetes touched my life personally that I discovered my true purpose and passion. It started when my husband's uncle was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and he was living with it for a long time. And, for people who don't know about diabetes, they just don't understand. And it's a very lonely road for people. And he was outgoing, vibrant man with a lust for life. He was in the gym, swimming laps, and you would find him on the golf course, living up, with gusto. But that was until he developed gangrene in his left big toe, and this came as a shock. But fortunately, the whole toe didn't have to be amputated, so that was the good part. But then little did we know that this was only the beginning. And every couple of months, the gangrene would spread, and it was horrible. And it reached a point where it was difficult for him to move and so on. And one could see, the pain. And he was struggling to walk. And yeah, so all his life basically came to a halt. It was terrible, struggling with his mobility and getting around. But he used to pop in a lot to visit. And yeah, like one day we got a call from our aunt, and she just didn't know where he was. And he didn't return, and it was terrible. The whole family was wondering where he was, looking for him, ringing up everyone, searching for him. And eventually we found him a couple of miles from the house. And I remember he said that, he couldn't find his way home. So the dementia started. It was just like getting worse. And from there on out, his condition rapidly deteriorated. So he could no longer, bathe himself. And so he was placed in an old age home. But yeah, and not long after the whole COVID situation, it was bad because he ended up in ICU, and nobody could go in to visit him. Like my aunt had to talk to him, on a cell phone. The kids couldn't go. Nobody could go, brothers and sisters, nothing, because of COVID. And it was so bad because it was so alone, just thinking about him being there alone. And yeah, he finally passed away, alone and confused. And that was just too much for me. And the problem sometimes is if people don't want to change, they believe there's only medications will help with diabetes. There's just a lack of knowledge of really what's going on. And the truth is that there's no money to be made if you want to cure diabetes naturally. That's so unfortunate. But anyways, that's why I got started, because I saw there was this whole thing going on there. And people who have diabetes, as I said before, they are alone. Nobody understands. But anyways, I want you now to give me permission. And this is important to me. I just want to ask you to go level 5 with me. So level 5, it's like it's this conversation you have with your best friend over a cup of coffee at a restaurant. And it's like, Vivian, shoot it straight to me. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to make you uncomfortable so you can get comfortable. Because, yeah, sometimes we just stand in our own ways. I've done it so many times in my life, but just give me this opportunity and give me the permission to be your coach. So if you would just type in yes, just a like, what? Yes, thank you, Alice. Awesome. Okay, great stuff. So, you've got to get right with yourself if you want to be successful with this. So now that I have your permission, let's do this. Yes. Okay. So because I'm getting such amazing results and due to popular demand, I specifically designed this 5-day challenge to walk you through my very process for reversing type 2 diabetes to help you drop your A1C levels. So if you want to get your A1C levels back to normal while getting off expensive medication, get your blood pressure back to normal, lose some unwanted weight and not feel hungry all the time, not feel hot and sweaty anymore and sleep like a baby, not worry about your health day in and day out, kill sugar cravings and ditch the sweet stuff, have energy and an unstoppable zest for life, engage in a community of like-minded people who understand you and will get the support you need, then this is for you. But I have to warn you, this isn't a click your mouse 3 times and poof, your diabetes is gone. Magic pill kind of woo-woo nonsense. No, this information I'm about to share with you is backed by solid scientific evidence and will work if you apply it. So I need you to work with me. Remember, no transformation without application. So if you want to lower your A1C levels and reverse your diabetes, you need to ultimately understand this graph. So ladies, before I go over, I'm going to put on a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll be in the background here chatting and let me just move it over to this one. I don't want to remove myself, this technology, it's user friendly, but if you're on the spot, can okay, so I think I've got it over here. There we go. You should see the graph by now. So let's see. I'm just going to get the PowerPoint up. Right. Good. It seems like it's working. Now I just need to, I've got 2 computers here, so just bear with me. Let's have a look. Right. So let's move on. So this graph, if you get this graph, then everything will be easy. Okay, so if you're a veteran type 2 diabetic, or you have just been newly diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, what you will learn in this 5-day challenge will change your life, because I will give you a proven blueprint that has been working very well for type 2 diabetes sufferers all around the world. Now, type 2 diabetes is one of the most common diseases I see as a keto coach. And type 2 diabetes has disseminated the healthcare system, overrunning its budgets. I mean, just have a look at this. So $327 billion annually. That's the cost in America. And so for the average medical expenditure is $16,000 per year. And because of type 2 diabetes, people lose their vision, their kidney function, they suffer heart attacks, they have strokes, get Alzheimer's. Actually, Alzheimer's they call type 3 diabetes now. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, dementia. They lose toes like my uncle, and there's no part of their life, of your life, that isn't affected. Diabetes disseminates the quality of your life, not to mention financially, it's devastating. But what's awesome, if people reverse, they go to the pharmacy and it's not as expensive. So let me ask you this. When you were diagnosed with diabetes, what options of treatment did your physician give you? So it was probably standard of care, right? So More often than not, your physician is trained to give you a bunch of medicine and tell you that they are so sorry that you have diabetes. Initially, they give you enough oral medication and suggest lifestyle changes such as exercise and weight loss to keep your blood sugars normal. And if that doesn't work well, they'll give you insulin to keep everything normal. So that is standard of care. So this is the type 2 diabetes management algorithm compiled by the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology. Basically, the exact formula all physicians follow when people are diagnosed. So if you see that if your A1C levels are equal or less than 6.5, they will do this for you. And then you see the whole chart. And then from left to right, so if you go to the right-hand side, it only gets worse. So every 3 months, you have to come back and they check what's going on. And if it didn't get better, they will just put you on more medication. Okay, so according to standard of care, type 2 diabetes is a progressive disease. So treatment plans will change, obviously more medication. And if you lose most of the cells in the pancreas that make insulin, no other diabetes medication can help. You may have been on 1, 2, or 3 diabetes medications, but your A1C can no longer be kept in a safe range. And when it's not possible to meet your blood sugar control goals with lifestyle changes or oral medication, eventually insulin will be the next step. And yeah, it's very hard. It's for people I even know, they have to have the insulin all the time with them. Actually, here in South Africa, we had a whole disaster in Durban where they looted, burned down the city, and people couldn't get the insulin. It was terrible. I mean, there was no supplies going into that city. I think it was for 2 weeks. It was so bad. But yeah, let me not ramble on about that because it's scary stuff. And you know, it gets worse and worse for diabetes, for people with diabetes, and then you have your cardiovascular. It's just downwards from there. So let's go on to the next slide over here. Incidences of remission in adults with type 2 diabetes. Now, this was the Kaiser study, and they found in community settings remission. So that's like reversal of type 2 diabetes does occur without bariatric surgery, but it is very rare. The rate of prolonged remission was extremely rare at 0.007. To provide context, 1.7% of the cohort died, while 0.8% experienced any level of remission. Thus, the chances of dying were higher than the chances of any remission. Now, remember, ladies, that is standard of care. So it's bad news. And then also 7 multinational, multi-center randomized controlled trials of tight blood glucose control with medication. So that those were the Accord, Advance, VADT, Origin, Tecos, Alexa, and Saver studies failed to demonstrate reductions in heart disease, the major killer of diabetic patients. So, did your physician tell you this? Did he inform you that if you go that route, standard of care, your chance of remission is like 0.1%? And for me, that's really horrible. Right. I'm so sorry. This mouse is giving me a little bit of a problem here. Okay. So in fact, Professor Tim Noakes, my mentor and teacher, reversed his own diabetes, but unfortunately lost his father, who was on standard care, to type 2 diabetes. And he had this to say about standard care: the treatment kills you, it doesn't help you. So for you guys and ladies out there, what is your biggest struggle on a daily basis with your diabetes? What is the most, is it more like physical or is it more mentally? What would you say is just the biggest problem that you experience with your diabetes? I'd really like to know. So let's have a look at these graphs. So this is mortality curves for diabetes with insulin. So in the top left, you've got with metformin, that's your monotherapy, and then your sulfonylureas monotherapy, and then we've got metformin plus sulfonylureas, and then at the bottom right, we've got insulin plus metformin. So as you can see, it is a bad and dire situation. So you need to know that you have a choice. But did your doctor tell you that you can lower your HbA1c levels naturally and reverse diabetes? Did he tell you that? Um, so there are 3 ways, and these have been proven, which can lower your HbA1c levels, obviously reversing your diabetes, and that would be bariatric surgery. Now, let me see just a second here. Yeah, so bariatric surgery, but it's very expensive. You'll have to cough up $20,000. And there's a high risk of mortality, and it loses its effectiveness after a few years, and people are back to square one. All right, so then we have, sorry about that, then we have a very low calorie diet. Now, followers of this method are hungry most of the time. I mean, it's close to starvation diet. It's like 800 to 1,200 calories a day, and that's so hard to follow. So obviously, most people after 3 months, they just throw in the towel because it's just too hard. And then third, nutritional ketosis. And would you agree that type 2 diabetes is a disease of high blood sugar, insulin resistance, and inflammation? So, nutritional ketosis is so powerful that it improves all 3, consequently lowering your HbA1c and reversing your type 2 diabetes. I mean, isn't that awesome? But don't take my word for it. Clinical trials have proven that nutritional ketosis can lower HbA1c levels, and it is sustainable. Right. And so how do you like them apples? And I thought you would. So just to recap, um, what they tell you, diabetes is a chronic progressive disease. What to actually do is diabetes is reversible. They tell you use more medication as the disease progresses, and we say get off the medication. It's expensive and there are side effects. So standard of care has a higher mortality rate, and with nutritional ketosis, it gives you a healthy, long life. I mean, that's just awesome. Who wouldn't want that? Right. So, what is the root cause of diabetes? Now, this is going to be interesting. So, just a little old history lesson here for a second. And let me see. Okay. So, in 1977, something terrible happened. The McGovern report happened. Now, until those years, diabetes was far and few between. But in that year, the dietary guidelines were changed. And all of a sudden, we were advised to eat a very low fat diet, increase our carbs, and fear fat. Now, fat was enemy number 1. They took the good fat out of our food. And here's why, because it tasted awful when they took out the fat, like cardboard. And what did they do? They added sugar. And there's a general 20-year rule that after 20 years, you will know what the outcome of a certain change is. And yes, things did change after the dietary guidelines changed. So let's see. Sorry, I'll have to just go back to this one. There we go. So yeah, as you can see over there, you have a 20-year rule. So in 1977, they changed the guidelines. 20 years later, obesity and diabetes just skyrocketed. Right. So what causes your blood sugar levels to spike? Now, we have 3 macronutrients. So we've got carbohydrates, carbs, protein, and fat. And, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, right. So let's just see over here. Carbs, protein, and fat. I'm so sorry about that. So here is the graph that I mentioned before. And So now if we eat carbs, and after 1977, we were advised to eat a lot of carbs. In fact, way more carbs. Every meal has to be 40 to 60% carbs. And what happens to our blood sugar when we eat carbs? It spikes. And if we eat protein, so let's see over here. I'm just going to see if I put in the 3 ones now. Okay, so if you eat protein, it doesn't spike your blood and insulin that much. And then if you have fat, it really doesn't do much. So you see the carbs, and it doesn't matter if it's sugar, pasta, bread, rice, or an apple, all get broken down to glucose, which will spike your blood sugar. You see, if you are diabetic, then your body is carb intolerant, just like someone who is lactose intolerant. Guys, I'll just have to get another mouse. This one, it gets stuck the whole time. So I'm going to just ask Aiden to get me another mouse. I'm sorry about that, ladies, but it's just, I don't know. Anyway, so if you are diabetic, then your body is carb intolerant. And if anyone's to blame, then it's the bad dietary advice that we get. So diabetes is a state of carbohydrate toxicity, and that's according to Dr. Sarah Hallberg, and you'll be learning a lot about her in future. Just sorry guys, I'm just going to ask him to put it in for me. Just take this one away. Thank you. I'm so sorry, that one got stuck the whole time. So annoying. So carbs to a diabetic is like Superman flying around with kryptonite around his neck, right? So as you can see, the root cause of diabetes is carbs. It's a dietary disease. Now, it is as simple as lowering your carb intake, eating moderate protein, and increasing your fat intake. That, in simple terms, is nutritional ketosis. And don't worry, eating the good, healthy fats won't make you fat. In fact, your body will burn fat for fuel instead of carbs. Again, nutritional ketosis is safe, as proven by so many clinical trials. So here are some of them, but we will go through them tomorrow because there's some amazing stuff I want to share with you. So here's an article in the Time magazine. Eat butter. Scientists labeled fat the enemy. Why they were wrong. So, you know, slowly but surely people are coming around to the situation that something went wrong in 1977. So there I go again with the wrong mouse. So, right, let's recap again quickly. So what they tell you is carbs are healthy and essential for diabetics. No, diabetics are carb intolerant. Eat more carbs, we say eat low carb. They say medication, eating healthy, and more exercise is the answer. We say nutritional ketosis is the answer. So they say fat is bad. Well, we say the healthy fat is good, right? So many people have said to me, Vivian, I'm so scared. I'm so scared of diabetes, not seeing my kids grow up, losing limbs, going blind. It's so sad. But you know what? We've got the answer now. And then I show them this. Now, remember, they're not my customer, not my client. I've never met them, but I'm just showing you what is possible. These people were treated by Dr. Kukuzela, one of my lecturers at Nutrition Network, and here are the results. So this is Jacinta. She dropped her A1C from 13 to the low 5s. She lost 150 pounds. She's off insulin, sulfonylureas, and her SGLT2 inhibitors. And she's only on metformin now, and she's getting abdominal surgery for some of the pains from when she was obese. And this is what she had to say. She said, when I listened to the ADA, my diabetes just kept getting worse until I took control. Now, this is DT. He was nearly dead 2.5 years ago. He was 600 plus pounds. His A1C was 15. He brought it down to 6. His creatinine was 7. That's very high, but his kidney function is back to normal. And I remember that the doctor said he worked as a cop in prison, which was very stressful. So lots of insulin, and now he's only on metformin. And yeah, it's amazing, don't you think? So this is the app that he used. I mean, look at the average blood sugars, deviation, not a lot. I mean, and his hypos, 0. I mean, that is totally awesome. This is Katie, A1C from 10 to 6.3, only uses metformin. This is Jeremiah, A1C 13 to 5.5. Now he uses none. He lost 120 pounds. He was on 10 meds, and now he uses nothing. Right, so this is Michael. He was in ICU, and he was on 3 diabetes medications and 2 blood pressure medications. He lost 120 pounds. And what you need to understand is that you also have a choice. I mean, you don't have to go on medication. But more importantly, the question that needs to be asked is, what treatment are you on now? Are you on standard care, the usual care, which will, I mean, I know this is horrible, but it will lead you to death's door. But now let's get back to nutritional ketosis, which has a 90% reversal rate. But don't take my word for it. There are studies to prove this, but more on that later. So would you agree that there's a better way to deal diabetes a fatal blow than what you are currently doing? So right, in this section, I will reveal to you what is diabetes and what causes diabetes and how you can reverse it. And trust me, this your doctor didn't tell you. You know what? Actually, the other day, I think it was the day before yesterday, this one doctor on the Nutrition Network, he said that doctors are actually incentivized to use standard of care. And I was like, what? So that's true. They actually get paid. So I don't want to demonize all of them, but doctors actually, if you look at it, they don't study nutrition. They know nothing about nutrition. So yeah. Right. So you see this image. This is my graph. I love this graph, and you'll be seeing a lot of it. So right. Let me just go on. Know thy enemy. Okay, so as I said, we're going to see what is diabetes, what causes diabetes, how you can reverse diabetes. And if you understand this graph, then everything will be clear. No, I'm just kidding, guys. This is the graph you need to understand. This is my favorite. I just love this graph. So now it will be a walk in the park, right? So what is diabetes? So we will obviously be focusing on type 2 diabetes because type 1 is an autoimmune disease and the pancreas get attacked by antibodies and they cannot produce insulin. So for them, insulin is a lifesaver. So diabetes is a disease. In fact, it is a chronic progressive disease. But again, ladies, you now know that's not true. That's according to them. But it really is a serious condition. So type 2 diabetes is a disease of high blood sugar. So let's just get back to basics for beginners and people who joined the challenge to help their loved ones and, just to understand what they're going through and how to solve it for them. So, right, let me just have a look. So when you first got diagnosed with diabetes, your A1C level was higher than 6.5. So let's just see over here. HbA1c refers to glycated hemoglobin. So that's the damage done to red blood cells by high glucose levels. And HbA1c is also referred to as hemoglobin A1c or simply A1c. So the red blood cells are renewed about every 3 months. So tests can be done every 3 months. So you probably know this by now. And it develops when hemoglobin, a protein within red blood cells that carries oxygen throughout your body, joins with glucose in the blood and becomes glycated. So improving A1C by 1% cuts the risk of microvascular complications by 25%. I mean, that is a lot, a lot. So even only getting it down 1% means a lot. So, and then we'll continue with the fasting plasma glucose. So this test checks your fasting blood sugar levels. So fasting means after not having anything to eat or drink except for water for at least 8 hours before the test. This test is usually done first thing in the morning before breakfast. And diabetes is not diagnosed at fasting blood sugar of greater than or equal than 126. So, and then we've got our oral glucose tolerance test. The OGTT is a 2-hour test that checks your blood sugar levels before and 2 hours after you drink a special sweet drink. It tells the doctor how your body processes sugar. And diabetes is diagnosed at 2-hour blood sugar or greater than or equal to 200 milligram per deciliter. Okay, so normal blood sugar is less than, so now we've got South Africans and we've also got American people in the group. So yeah, less than 100, and for the South Africans 5.6, and then up to 140 and 7.8 2 hours after a meal. So that's normal. So pre-diabetes is between 100 and 125 or 5.6 to 7, and then diabetes is 126 or higher after fasting overnight, or higher than 200 at any time. Right. So again, type 2 diabetes is a disease of high blood sugar, but that's not all. You see, if your blood sugar levels are high, insulin needs to come in and do its job. It has to clear out the sugar, the glucose, and put the glucose in your cells and bring your blood sugar levels back to normal. So you see, diabetes is a hormonal disease. To be more specific, a hormone called insulin. So what causes diabetes? So if we go to the ADA's website and I'm newly diagnosed, this is what comes up. It's like getting started with type 2. To use glucose as energy, your body needs insulin. But with type 2, your body doesn't make enough insulin or doesn't use it well, and your body cells can't use glucose for the energy it needs. When glucose stays in your blood, it can cause serious problems. So while there is no cure for type 2 diabetes, there are ways to manage your condition through a balanced diet, an active lifestyle, and in some cases, medicine. So in my experience, the ADA likes to push drugs. Right. So let's get back to the basics again. It's a hormonal disease. To be more specific, insulin, right? And what it boils down to is this. If you have type 2 diabetes, you are insulin resistant. So here's the graph again. So the macronutrients have different impacts on our blood sugar. So, right, if we eat carbs, as I said before, your insulin spikes. With protein, it does, but it takes longer. And obviously, then with fats, it really doesn't spike your insulin, right? Now, obviously, carbs spike our insulin the most. And here's our clue. What food should you avoid if you have diabetes? I mean, really? Obviously, it's the carbs, right? So, did you know that your minimum requirements of carbs is 0? 0, 0, 0. So, we have essential amino acids, those are the proteins, and essential fatty acids, those are your fats, but no essential carbs. You don't need carbs to live. So a nutrient is only essential if we have it to function, and we can make it from something else. So there is a process called gluconeogenesis, and gluconeogenesis is a metabolic pathway that results in the generation of glucose from certain non-carbohydrate carbon substrates. So you can see your body can produce glucose, and a lot of it. So we don't need to even eat carbs. But obviously, you don't want to be so cruel and not eat carbs. Yeah, but just lower them. So, diabetes is caused by carbohydrate intolerance or insulin resistance. When someone with type 2 diabetes eats carbohydrates, it causes their blood sugar to rise above levels that are healthy for them. So when someone with type 2, okay, if you have type 2 diabetes, you are insulin resistant, and that is where it all begins. Now, diabetes is a state of carbohydrate toxicity. Now, let's have a look what happens when we eat carbs, right? So, let's have a look. Now you eat the burgers, the juices, watermelon, and a lovely muffin. You digest it, and your body breaks it down into glucose. So, as I mentioned before, your body doesn't discern between like bread, an apple. So sometimes people say, oh, apples, strawberries, whatever, they're healthy, but your body only sees them as glucose. So this goes into your bloodstream, and then it alerts your pancreas, and your pancreas secrete insulin. And insulin, so there's your bloodstream, so there's your glucose, and then enters insulin. Now, insulin has to go and take it's like a plug, it's like a key. So your insulin goes to the insulin receptor, and then it opens up and the glucose can enter. Right. So now if this insulin receptor doesn't work, the glucose cannot go in. So you see, this is a disaster. This is insulin resistant. So then you also get hyperinsulinemia. So now you've got insulin resistant. This is a condition where the cell of the body, they fail to respond efficiently or completely to the action of insulin. So your body will want to compensate, and then it overproduces insulin in an effort to maintain blood glucose control. And this creates a condition called hyperinsulinemia. Right. So this is where too much insulin is present throughout the body and leads to type 2 diabetes. And eventually the cells become completely resistant to insulin, and the blood sugar stays elevated. And this is dangerous. So insulin resistance is a condition where the body cell needs higher and higher doses of insulin to utilize the same amount of glucose for energy. So in the absence of insulin, glucose cannot enter the cells, and this elevates your blood sugar levels. Thus, your pancreas secrete more insulin. But now remember, carbs spike your blood sugar levels. But what really is strange is that they, the ADA and standard of care, advise you to eat 45 to 60% of carbs. I mean, look at this. This is the diabetes plate method. Okay, I mean, so if you have a look, they say, okay, non-starchy vegetables, that's a great idea, but it's half of your plate. Then a quarter is carbohydrate foods, and then protein. So I don't see any fat on this plate method, none at all. So they tell you to eat asparagus, broccoli. So this list, yeah, it's good, nothing wrong with that. And then lean protein, ladies, lean protein. And chicken, turkey, eggs, yeah, but it has to be lean beef, lean pork, etc. And then carbohydrate foods: brown rice, oats, popcorn, quinoa, pasta, tortillas, bread. I mean, really. But you'll see now why I'm not too happy with this situation. So we have brown rice. So I'm sure your mom always told you, eat the brown rice. And we even tell our kids that, eat the brown rice. It's healthier than the white rice, right? So our body, the normal human, has 5 liters of blood and can tolerate 1 teaspoon of sugar at a time. Now, if we eat 1 cup of, let me see, brown rice, like the ADA says, and that's like less than the ADA says, then we consume 9 teaspoons of sugar. 9 teaspoons. And that's not taking into account the rest of the carbs that they want you to eat. So you see, for someone who is intolerant of carbs or insulin resistant, this will cause havoc in your body. Now, if you are carbohydrate intolerant, have type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, the system is broken. The body loses its insulin sensitivity, and more insulin is required to remove the excess blood sugar. As a result, blood sugar levels remain high and insulin levels are high as well. And these high levels can make your body even less sensitive to insulin. And this is a vicious cycle. So you eat carbs, glucose rises, insulin, hungry, fat storage. So, but you'll see why I say hungry again. And a lot of you ladies said that you have cravings, you're hungry, etc., etc. So our entire culture is being saturated with carbs, and we are being told that natural fats are not good for us. And remember that they now say no 6 meals a day. I mean, if you're constantly eating, you will have insulin in your blood the whole time, and you know that insulin is a fat storing hormone. That is why you will never lose any weight as long as there's insulin, because the opposite to insulin is glucophage, which glucagon, sorry. So one of them has to be present. With insulin, you will store fat. That's just how it goes. So sorry, I'm babbling on again. So let's just recap again. So they tell you to manage your type 2 diabetes. We tell you reverse the type 2 diabetes. We have to eat carbs, they say. Type 2 diabetics are carb intolerant. So we tell you go low carb, nutritional ketosis. They say avoid healthy fats, which doesn't affect your blood sugar levels or insulin. Well, we say eat healthy fat. So more insulin in advanced stages. We say avoid insulin medication. They say medication, side effects, and expensive. We say get off the medication, and then there won't be any side effects. Right. So, how can you reverse your type 2 diabetes? Low carb. I mean, you cannot give someone who is carb intolerant and has insulin resistance the very poison, aka carbs, that make them sick. It's insane. Low carb eating gives us the energy we need while keeping our blood sugar low. When blood sugar is low, the pancreas put less insulin into our bloodstream. Over time, as insulin levels remain low, our cells become resensitized to insulin, and insulin resistant reversal begins. So, yes, and that, my friend, is exactly how you will reverse your diabetes with nutritional ketosis. Now, in the previous section, I explained to you what diabetes is, what causes diabetes, and how you can reverse it. And you know that if you follow along in this 5-day challenge, you will be able to reverse your type 2 diabetes. Hang in there, stretch your arms and legs. I'll give you a minute, and then I will finish off with the truth about carbohydrates. So I'm just going to have some water over here. I will give you 30 seconds. Right, in the previous sections, we established the root cause of type 2 diabetes, and so what diabetes is, what causes diabetes, and how you can reverse it. So now we're at the truth of carbohydrates. So let's continue. If carbs are so bad for type 2 diabetics, then why do they recommend it? I mean, think about that for a second. Why do we eat so many carbs? Why do they tell us to eat so many carbs? Well, because we've all been deceived by these crooked food corporations and the dirty tricks. And if you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, then you need to know that the deck has always been stacked against you, and that it is not your fault that you're struggling with this disease. They tell you to try harder, and it's because you're lazy and you eat too much and you can't control yourself. You're an overeater, but that's not true. Carbs are toxic for someone who has diabetes. However, the biggest carb culprit of them all, what would you guys say? What do you think is the biggest carb culprit? Right, sugar. Sugar, sugar, sugar. So let me explain. In 1960, Dr. Campbell noticed an increase in diabetes among the Indian and Zulu population in Natal. So he demonstrated that it took 32 to 36 kgs of sugar per year to develop diabetes in a 20-year period. That will equal like 21 teaspoons of sugar per day. So it's just about 100 grams of sugar. So also take into consideration that the urban people's sugar intake was 16 times higher than that of the rural Zulu population. So the rural Zulus also had a higher calorie intake. So this is where the 20-year rule started. Research all over the world agreed with Dr. Campbell's findings. Here's a graph obtained from a report by the US Department of Health and Human Services showing overweight and obesity statistics over time. And can you see the huge spike there after 1977, right? There we go. So you can see the 20-year rule. As I said before, they changed it in 77, 20 years, and there everything went wrong. So you might be thinking, what did they do? What the heck happened in 1977? So it is a good question. So here's the rundown. In 1977, the US government issued the very first dietary goals for Americans. So after bone-crunching pressure from lobbyists and food associations, the entire report was rewritten, a far cry from the original. The essence of the new report boiled down to this message. Americans were encouraged to buy leaner products and buy more foods with less fat. The fear of fat was born. By the way, this recommendation was made by one scientist named Ansel Keys, and no, not even one clinical trial was run to test this hypothesis, but more on that later. So this is Ansel Keys. And so for the food corporations came out with the re-engineered version of healthy, low-fat foods to fit this new health doctrine. These dietary recommendations have made high-carb, low-fat foods a staple of the American diet. And you know how it goes. If something changes in America, it changes all over the world. But wait, if you're anything like me, trying to follow these healthy guidelines, you probably stocked up on foods with labels that read low-fat, light, lean, 0 calories, healthy food, or 100% natural food. Because these foods are healthier, right? Well, shockingly, that's dead wrong. Because this is when they pulled a fast one on all of us. You see, once you remove the fat from food, it tastes awful, like cardboard. The food companies are well aware of this. And this is the part where everything went horribly wrong for you and me. Heck, the whole world, because any attempt to be healthy from here on out became utterly futile. Because they started to dump huge amounts of carbs into our food to make it hyper palatable and addictive. Now listen, addictive. Yes, the substance which is killing us is carbs. For example, out of 600,000 grocery food items you'll find in the typical grocery store, over 80% are loaded with added sugar. Carbs, carbs, carbs. When you eat carbs, it gets broken down into glucose, and this spikes your blood sugar levels. As a result, your pancreas releases insulin, and if you are insulin resistant, the glucose can't get into your cells. Right. More insulin is secreted to get your blood sugar levels down. Then with your next meal, the same happens. You eat carbs, your blood sugar goes up, your insulin spikes. You see, this is a tyrannical cycle. And here's the kicker. It has been shown that high levels of insulin block signals to your brain that tell you when you've had enough to eat, causing you to overeat. And adding insult to injury, not only are the food corporations tricking you into buying this junk, it's causing you to eat more of the same, increasing their bottom line and your health problems. So, in a study conducted by Princeton University involving 43 cocaine addicted rats, all were introduced to sugar water. And after a 15-day trial, 40 of them preferred sugar water over water laced with cocaine. I mean, yeah, that's shocking. So, this study clearly demonstrates the shocking addictive nature of sugar. So, if you eat, you want more, more. And did you know that rats find Oreos as addictive as cocaine, according to an article in the Washington Post? I mean, even they can't resist the stuff. Hey, I'm rambling again. So, you see how dangerous carbs are. But now the average diabetes patient is thinking, but I don't eat sugar, like from a bowl. I don't do that. Yeah, but now let's have a look at this seemingly healthy breakfast, right? So we've got low fat yogurt. It has 4 teaspoons of sugar. We have a delicious fruit salad with 2 teaspoons of sugar. We get muesli. They always tell you, oh, it's full of fiber. It's so good for you. 6 teaspoons. And then a glass of orange juice, which has 4 teaspoons. So as you can see, it's totally, and this is only breakfast. This is only breakfast. And if you think about it, if children have this, if they start at an earlier age, it's just going to go south. So let me see. So let's say in the mid morning, you have a nice sandwich, and then for lunch, you have a nice bowl of pasta with some bolognese, and then some mid-afternoon snacks, some delicious muffins, and then for dinner, some rice with a lovely curry and maybe a popcorn snack, in front of the TV. The daily intake of carbohydrate is just too high, especially if you're insulin resistant. So you see, it's carbs, carbs, carbs all over the place. So you might be thinking, okay, Vivian, if I can't have carbs, well, what am I supposed to eat, right? So let's go back to basics just for a second, because now you know exactly where everything went wrong in 1977 when they changed the dietary guidelines. They induced a fear of fat and made carbs the basis of our food pyramid. So let's have a look. This is the food pyramid. So you can see it's like only pasta, potatoes, yeah, and that spikes your blood sugar, spiking your insulin, making you insulin resistant. No, it's just bad news. So, let's recap quickly. Okay, so we've got 3 macronutrients: carbs, protein, and fat. A very important thing is that these macronutrient categories have a very different impact on our blood sugar. So when we eat carbs, our blood sugar rises quickly, peaks quickly, and then falls off just as fast. With proteins, the blood sugar response is better, but when we eat fat, the blood sugar response is flat, and that is going to be very important in understanding why fat is going to be an important part of any science-based nutritional recommendation. Now, remember, this doesn't mean you have to eat fat off a piece of meat. No, it's nothing like that, because you have to remember, like if you have a piece of meat and there's fat on it, you can eat it. It's not only going to be butter, avo, meat, olive oil, chicken skin, eggs, olives, cheese, but I mean, it does sound delicious. And more importantly, fat is very calorie dense, so you also don't eat that much. All food contains different amounts of carbs, protein, and fat. So carbs are broken down into monosaccharides. So that's glucose, fructose, and galactose. So your body cannot tell where the glucose comes from. All the body knows is that glucose is glucose, right? So let's have a look at where the sugar is coming from. So remember, let me just go back quickly here. 5 liters of blood, 1 teaspoon of sugar. I mean, and how much are we eating? So 1 serving of brown rice has 9 teaspoons of sugar. 1 cup of oats has 3 teaspoons. No, sorry, 5 oats. 1 slice of bread has 3 teaspoons. 250 ml fruit juice has 2 for 6. Right, so your spaghetti, 100 gram, and that's not really a lot if you think about it, has 14 teaspoons. 100-gram potato has 4 teaspoons. One medium apple has 16 teaspoons. One banana has 4.5 teaspoons. 250 ml sweetened yogurt has 7.5. And 25 grams of raisins, 4 teaspoons. And 25 grams isn't a lot. 100 grams or 25 grams of dried peaches, 2 tablespoons. And you know that they tell us to eat dried fruits. Remember I showed you? So even that, and then 100 grams of chocolate, 12 teaspoons. Right. So in the VIP sections, I will explain exactly how you can read food labels to avoid these high sugar foods. Now, we also have to remember not all carbs are created equal. So the law of thermodynamics, a bit of science here, energy of an isolated system is constant. Basically, in a controlled isolated system, 500 calories of broccoli and 500 calories of soda are the same. They would both release the same amount of energy. However, that would be in an isolated system, not our bodies. So what happens if you eat 207 calories of broccoli and drink 140 calories of soda? Let's have a look. The cola soda has 39 grams of sugar. It has 300 grams of water, and 45 milligrams of sodium. So this soda contains carbs broken down into glucose and fructose. Because this drink contains no fiber whatsoever, it will be absorbed very quickly. The sugar content is 9.75 teaspoons. So the glycemic index of a can is 90, so that's very high. And the GI is like an estimate of how the food affects your blood sugar levels. So your blood sugar levels will rise significantly. So obviously due to the glucose. So high amounts of insulin will be released. Insulin is the fat storage hormone and will increase storage of belly fat. It will increase inflammation and your blood pressure will rise. Now let's see what 207 calories of, oh my goodness, I forgot. Boop, boop. There we go again. Sorry about that. So your broccoli, right. So 10.3 grams of sugar, 8.75 grams of sugar. I put it in twice, so there's obviously a mistake over there. So just ignore that one. And okay, so it has fat, fiber, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. The GI is only 10. So broccoli is high in fiber and it is low in sugar, which means there will be no blood sugar or insulin spikes. It will be digested slowly. And there are many vitamins and nutrients which can only be good for your body. So this may all seem overwhelming, but don't worry because you can still enjoy delicious food. So here's only an example of the meal plans in store for you. So, I mean, nutritional ketosis is really, it's not so bad. It's delicious foods that you can have. I mean, avos, chicken kebabs, lovely curry, prawns, pumpkin bread over there to your right, delicious steaks. You can have breakfast, huge, lovely breakfast, even mousses. There you see all these delicious, delicious meals. So, right. Okay, ladies, so that is the end of the formal presentation I've got over here. So also, let me just swap over here from this one. So just tabs over here. So this is the presentation. Just a second. Just shouldn't mute myself. My mouth is so dry. A lot of talking and a lot of whatevers. Okay, so ladies, I've got notes. These one aren't on my computer. Otherwise, sometimes I'm old school. Like my husband will use monday.com and have everything organized. And I'm just like, what? Diary. Where's my diary? Somewhere. Yeah, diary. I use a diary. I'm old school. Hey. Okay, so I just want to go over a few things here. Okay, so I don't know how much time I've got until I go to VIP, but in the VIP section, we're going to do a very important exercise for motivation, because it's all good and well, but if the motivation isn't there, it's not going to work. We need to determine your why, and it's a total game changers, ladies. So I still have the VIP for $47. You get the whole flagship program. By the way, these recordings will only be up for 24 hours. Why, Vivian? Because I want you to take action. You know, so often it's like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. No, I want you to do it today. This is important for you if you want to reverse your diabetes. It's amazing. So just join VIP, then you can get all the recordings, and to the value, everything, all in all, it's $1,097, and you're getting it for $47. That's nothing, ladies. I would highly advise you to upgrade. This is for you. This is your life. And I want to see you on VIP. So, this light is very blinding, but anyways, so remember, the video is only up for 24 hours. And tomorrow is also very important. I want you to be here, because you know what happens with nutritional ketosis? Like 5 years back, everyone is like, oh, there are no studies. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing this and this and this. And you know that I mentioned Dr. Sarah Hallberg. Now that woman, a woman of steel, I have so much respect for her, because she went and they did clinical trials. Not 1 year, they took it even further to 2 and to 5 to reverse diabetes. I mean, that is so amazing. And I'm going to show you what they did exactly and how you can apply it. And more importantly, I want you to see that it actually works. This isn't some woo-woo thing I'm sucking out of my thumb. This is real, ladies. This is for reals. This is good information. It's just awesome. So for homework, now, what I want you to do is in the comment section, I want you to answer these questions. So the first question is, do you believe you can reverse your type 2 diabetes? The second question is, what was your biggest takeaway today, which you learned today? What was your biggest takeaway? And number 3, just to see if you paid attention in this live class. Number 3 is, what is a type 2 diabetic intolerant of? Right. So I just want to, okay, so those 3 questions and the best answer. And you know what? Go live, introduce yourself. We are all here for the same goal. Let's just keep it moving, ladies. And for the best one, the best one, I'm going to give you a $50 certificate at Amazon, or for the South Africans, maybe Takealot. I'll just have to see, but the best one. So be original, you know, tell me your story, be real. We're all here for the same goal. So let me just see over here the banners. So if you want to do the upgrade to VIP, I will see you guys in a little bit. Obviously, if you're in VIP, you'll get the link. So it's reversalchallenge.com. So just go to reversalchallenge.com, upgrade VIP. It's awesome. And yeah, ladies, I hope that helped you a lot. There is so much more coming in this week. You better be here. I'm so super excited for you. If you have any questions, you can even email me. I think it is in your email, vivian@myuberdiet.com. I'm here to help you. I'm here to serve you at the highest level. And if you've got any suggestions, then let me know. But anyway, for now, I think you've had enough of me. But anyways, thanks for listening. I had so much fun. And I will see you in VIP.